I was diagnosed back in 2023 with type 2 diabetes as a middle-aged male. And it's day 622 today where I've defeated my weakness. And it's something so simple. It's something that, you can't really charge for. And something I think that the powers that be, you can't really sell. It's like totally simple, It's one of the components that has helped me, and I hope to help you guys today. Simple as simple could be. Right? So I paid thousands of dollars on private doctors and stuff, and when I was diagnosed, I was frozen pretty much. I was stuck in place. It just hit me like a tidal wave. Like, holy shit, dude, I'm type 2 diabetic. Like all the stuff that comes with it, I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. I'm not a very fearful person. There's things I get scared of for sure. But something like that just really just pulled the carpet out from underneath me. Like, I was afraid of losing my manhood. You become weak, you become tired, and you're dependent maybe on insulin. Like, first thing I thought was insulin injections, and I knew nothing about type 2 diabetes. So I was in a state of paralysis. And then it was very interesting because there's a saying that they have, analysis paralysis. So I'm very untrusting. And when I knew that I was type 2 diabetic, I bought a bunch of books and stuff. I was watching a bunch of videos that say, take this, do that, buy my supplements and take my online course. And I didn't do any of that. Like, I tried a few supplements like berberine, amla, my doctors or my whatever, they tried to get me on pills, and I wasn't having none of it. So analysis paralysis was while researching and, reading books so that I have a good, clear education to know that I'm not going to get taken advantage of. And I pretty much still got taken advantage of for a couple $1,000s, right? And what I realized in my life with emotions, which I talked about yesterday, is you can get stuck in anger, you get stuck in fear, like I did, and you're not really going anywhere. You're stagnant. And the best way I can explain it is like the Polynesians, the guys who went out and met, probably men and women, I don't know, traveling across the oceans, or the Vikings, right? Well, on boats, right, going across the oceans, and that's what your body's like, a boat. And a tool we all have is a sail. And that's the easy one. That's really nice. Like, in order for us to get from point A to point B, we'd open up our sail, and it's like, bam, we're flying, right? Literally you just hold what is that thing called? The little steering thing, and the little paddle in the back, and you can steer where you're going, and the winds come, but you can't create wind, So what do you do if you're sitting in a placid, calm ocean and there's no wind and you're just floating around? That was me. Analysis paralysis, and paralysis of like, what the hell just happened? My emotions, anger, fear, doubt, anxiety, right, got me nowhere. So it's not until, you can sit there and blow on the sail, see if that'll get you anywhere, right, till you turn purple. But what you need is a paddle. Not to say that sometimes in life there's things you can do, to take advantage of that wind, build a bigger sail, but the fact is that there's not always wind. You need to get some form or fashion to be able to propel yourself, and that's a paddle. And the most simplest thing that I found in life, when I have anxiety, like, guys, I've suffered such severe anxiety. Like, let me tell you about my story. Like, I went and got sushi. I was drinking some Patron, I got pretty lit. This is way back before I got diabetes, but I got home, you know, and I was very anxious and nervous about work and everything. And my ex-wife at the time was watching some Survivor show where this guy's stuck on a raft, which just goes perfect with today. In the middle of the ocean, he was just talking about the horror, how his friend pretty much died, right? He couldn't make it. And this guy was like telling his story about these sharks and stuff. It was so intense. And I guess I was following the story. I was feeding into my anxieties, and my heart started beating, and it became where that's all I could focus on. I was like, oh my God, am I not breathing? And then I just started clamming up. I started sweating, and I was like, it really hit me. It was the biggest anxiety attack I've ever had, like the deepest one. And what I found observing myself was I was just in it, like feeding off of it. And I told my ex-wife, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I feel well. She looked up at me, she goes, holy shit, are you okay? I was just pale. And as soon as she said that, she like grabbed my shoulder. She's like, are you okay? I started sweating, and it just literally felt like my chest was caving in the center. You know, anxiety attacks so bad that the worst thing that could happen is that you don't die, that nothing happens. Like you wish you were, because you don't want to deal with those anymore. So she rushed me to the hospital. We went in, they hooked up the AKG or whatever, all that stuff to me. And it was like 3 hours, and I'm wondering, are these guys going to cut my rib cage open? You have to work on my heart, knock me out. Like, what's going on? And come to find, the doctor said, you know what? Your problem is it's in your head. Whatever you got in there, you got to figure that out. Because I told him, I don't want to be on medications. I don't want to take, anything. He gave me Ativan, I think it was called. He said, consider it like a shot of tequila. If you ever feel like you can't control this anymore, use this as a crutch. And I took it, and I maybe took it 2 times in my life, and I was like, out of curiosity more than anything else. I ended up throwing the bottle away. But the point is that I wasn't moving, And I find being a content creator, right, and I'm always thinking of stuff like how to do things, and I'll get stuck. My mind's working, but it's not really functioning at tip top. And what I found is when I start driving like I am right now, or better than that, walking, go for a walk, it's like the wind, my boat, my sail gets wind, and everything starts to move around me, and I'm moving, and everything starts to get into action. Whereas if I just sit in the moment, nothing happens, and it's just like sediment falling to the bottom of a stale lake, right? But once I start moving, my brain starts working, right? I think that what it is it's oxygen. It's like oxygen going inside your blood. You're breathing heavier, right? You're moving, so you're like, that's forcing oxygen. Your body's needing it to, perform. The brain works better. The blood works, everything works better. So this small little tip I have, one of the most profound things that I found, aside, right, from all the thousands of dollars I've spent, all the thousands of, not millions of hours reading books and studying, was just go for a walk. It's that simple, guys. I mean, this is not going to cover everything, but it's one of the biggest things. If you ever find yourself, in that state of paralysis, like severe anxiety, or you just can't think, or everything just feels dull and like, you're just not getting anywhere. You get depressed and anything. You just start walking and everything starts to move. And the cool thing is that you're stacking functions, and stacking functions is a huge part of my life. Like if you can build this thing that does multiple things, right? Like one of the things, the dreams I have in my life is to be able to grow my own food, which I have. BC gardening guy, by the way. And the idea of stacking functions is that I'm growing my own food. I'm getting paid to be a content creator, which I'm not, but this is the dream, right? So I'm eating the healthiest food on the planet. I'm getting exercise. I'm out in the sunshine. I'm teaching people how to grow their own food. So it's giving me an income. And I can't think, and I can go and produce so much food that I could trade for like grass-fed beefs and things like that, and I can barter, right? It's gonna be good for my health. See how it's stacking functions. One thing has many, many functions, and walking for a middle-aged male, a male with type 2 diabetes, is that it gets your mind off everything. It starts to make you, it starts to just get you in a flow of things. You're creating your own wind. It's also going to drop your blood sugars, because once you start moving, you know, for me it was 30 minutes. I understand some of you maybe are blue collar or white collar workers. I don't know what the difference of that stuff is. I'm pretty much a dropout. But anybody who doesn't really get much physical activity, you know, it's probably pretty difficult for you to go for a 30-minute walk. And when I say 30-minute walk, I mean like a brisk walk, like you can still have a conversation like I'm having right now. That's all you need. You don't have to go and start resistance training, lifting weights and doing all this shit that you see on these influencers telling you. Pretty much the majority of them, guys, I'm sorry to say, like I probably shouldn't say this, but knowing what I know now, 622 days later, like 95% of them are full of shit. Like, and you'll know this because you probably tried stuff just like me and none of it's working. And not to say that walking is just going to magically pop everything and make everything disappear, right? You still have to put in the work. But what's going to happen is if you do a brisk walk every day for 30 minutes, and guys, I use a continuous glucose monitor. It's a mechanism that measures my blood sugar levels every 5 minutes. It updates. So I know 24/7 when I'm sleeping, everything. It shows it on my phone, a little graph of where I'm at all the time. And I've done thousands of 30-minute walks, and literally I can watch that blood sugar drop, especially after you eat. So if you're stuck, and if you want the simple way to really get out there and like you want to get moving, you need one thing. What's the one thing that you can do to not make your problem completely disappear, but it helps. It's help us there. If you do it on a regular basis, it will help you. So take one thing. Start, if you know what, if you can't do a 30-minute walk, try 10 minutes, try 15 minutes. And here's the kicker too, guys, is that it becomes addicting. Like me, I pretty much walk at least once a day, 30 minutes. And there's no excuses, right? You guys know I'm a no excuse type of guy. If you're in the cold country, if you're in Arizona, Texas, and it's triple digits, go get yourself a treadmill. There's free treadmills. I just got one for free. Granted, I have a special needs, daughter, so I think people feel some sympathy for me, but they were like, yeah, I'll just give it to you, you know what I mean? But even if they don't, there's some for like $50, $100. I will tell you too, knowing what I know now about treadmills 2 years later, or about a year, I used to just go for walks, lap around my house. If I didn't have the money, I'd just, trace my fence. But knowing what I know now is those cheap treadmills, they're going to burn out. Those motors, like I literally have killed one in like 4 months, because as I said, at least 30 minutes a day. There's times where I'd be walking like 3 times a day, like an hour and a half per day. And roughly, if you are asking me, I usually start out at around 2 miles per hour, just to get myself warmed up. I'm pushing 50 years old, St. Patty's Day next year, so I'll do like 2 miles per hour, and then I'll bump it up for 5 minutes just to get myself warmed up, and then I'll go to 3 miles per hour. And I'll wait until the last 2 minutes where it's like 28 minutes, and then I'll bump it down to 1.5 miles per hour just to kind of settle myself down so I don't just abruptly stop when my heart's beating, right? But guys, man, this is what helped me to lose 50 pounds. Like, of course, there's a lot of other things like my diet. I drink my 30 grams of protein, or eat 30 grams of protein like within 30 minutes of waking up, and do this 30-minute walk. Literally, you watch the fat just start pouring off your body. I mean, I think I look just like I did when I was in my 20s, but I've got way more energy, it feels like. But yeah, if there's the one most powerful thing I've done, and you wouldn't even believe it, it's just right underneath our feet, right underneath your nose. A fucking walk. It doesn't get simpler than that, guys. And as I said, many people won't tell you this because, who needs to coach you on how to walk? If you need a coach, you got some serious problems on how to walk. I understand, I'm not trying to be a DICK here, but yeah, I mean, it's simple, guys. Just as I gave you the info is, you don't want to just walk really, really slow unless you're getting started, but you know, get it up to where your blood pressure's pumping up a little bit, you know, not to where you're fatigued and you can't breathe. Just simple walk. That's all you need to get started. So I hope that helps you guys. Get out there and get some sun.